Welcome to Sankofa Community Affairs with Salim Adolfo. Today we have on the show Brother Howard, Brother Isaiah, and Brother Desarte, all members of the Black Male Entrepreneurship Institute. Can you tell us about the Institute?
Yeah, well, the Institute was started about a year ago to create a medium and a place for Black men to get together and to grow their businesses. And our goal is to help create millionaires through this opportunity.
All right, I want to have an open and honest and frank discussion, because I think that's the only way we can get to the crux of some of our issues in the community and move forward.
Right.
I grew up in an environment where a lot of brothers felt the only way they could be successful is basketball or rapping. Is that accurate?
Well, that's not accurate, and it's unfortunate that that's the narrative that we've subscribed to for so long, but that's because of exposure. And this program helps to kind of increase that level of exposure for programs and men in our program that want to be role models. It's not just about economics, it's about changing, the conversation and shifting the paradigm.
All right, now Isaiah, you're a college student, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What's your major?
Global Affairs.
Do you find a lot of people in your peer group aren't taking their brand, their name as serious, that they want to hang out, they want to do certain things, as to whereas some of their counterparts are preparing to take over dad's business?
Honestly, a lot of people don't even view themselves as a brand, unfortunately. Okay. You have a lot of people that typically subscribe to the traditional, I'm going to go get a degree, linear path, and go get a 9-to-5, without even looking at themselves as being an asset. The information that's being provided through the education system is vital, but you also have to figure out a way to leverage it and leverage yourself and create a brand. Because there's a plethora of avenues that you can travel down and create some sort of income, but you gotta be creative and innovative in doing so. So I think we need to really teach that and emphasize that in our education system, but also within programs such as BME.
Now, you said that you are studying global affairs.
Yes, correct.
So when I look at that, I say there's a global market for you to be able to be an entrepreneur, and you got the whole entire world to make money. You just don't have to make money in your own neighborhood. Right. So what would you tell some young folks right now in terms of how they can see the whole world as a marketplace for them to make money?
Honestly, I think it's really about being open. If you don't cultivate kind of an open mindset to things, you're going to always be closed off and kind of have a limited perspective. Right. Don't shy away from opportunities that really force you out of your comfort zone, and just kind of jump on them. Be aggressive and be assertive with those. If they present themselves, assess the situation, but also don't be too cautious, because that kind of limits you at the end of the day.
Now, Desarte, you're an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
At what point did you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to step out with this leap of faith and make this become a reality?
I took a very unconventional path. I had the opportunity to work for some major companies, some very well-renowned companies. But after praying and after really diving into my skill set and the people that I trust, talking to them, I thought that I could do this by myself. And after looking at the resources, looking at the examples, and looking at other people that were doing it, whether they were African American or not, I looked at them and said, what makes me incapable? Right? And as Black men, as African Americans, we all are capable, but we have to have the audacity to dream and run with it.
Now, you said you had the opportunity to go work, I'm assuming, for some big Fortune 500 companies. Yeah. And there are a lot of people who have chose that route, and I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that route, but I also find that some of the best and brightest of our talent are giving their skills to communities other than ours. How do we keep some of that talent in our community?
I think it's a responsibility of ours to send the elevator back down, right? Like you, I grew up without my father, passed away from prostate cancer very early on. So I had to go out to mentors who wanted to send the elevator back down after they reached a certain height. So for that reason, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, it's my responsibility to go out to the schools, go out to the Boys and Girls programs, participate in events like this, and the community that we have in BME to say, hey, our responsibility not only is to make millionaires, but is to go to these places and show them a different example other than, like you said, rapping and playing ball, right? So we have a responsibility. It's not only about getting up to the top, but it's saying, hey, I'm going to send this back down, give somebody an internship or an opportunity to let their dreams come to realization as well.
Now, obviously, you're talking about mentorship, but throwing the elevator back down. So what are some of the things that BME does to help mentor young Black men?
Yeah, so within the framework of the program, it's about 5 points. And mentorship and bridging that generational gap is one of our key components. What I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, is what there's a chasm between the older generation and the new school.
Right.
So with BME, we create this pipeline that we have created relationships for the guys to kind of walk into, be mentored, to do business with, and just to cultivate these personal relationships. I mean, we have guys who are literally being mentored by millionaires and Fortune 1000 companies, if you will, but also guys that are mentoring each other, because that's most important. When we talk about collaborative teamwork and sharing, it's not just about us reaching up, but it's outreach across the table. Say, hey brother, can you help me? I can help you. Let's work together and let's build this dream.
Like I said, I want to keep the conversation all the way live and, and real and 100, as some folks would say. Sometimes, people that we growing up with just aren't in the environment that we need to be sometimes.
Right.
And I know for me, you develop an emotional attachment to people you grew up with.
It's tough. It's tough.
But it's tough to just say, like, you know what, you still on the block.
Yeah.
We're not talking about stocks. We're still talking about girls, and we're still talking about hanging out at the clubs, and so forth and so on. Or even if they're not talking about that, but you're not talking about starting a business. You're not talking about purchasing a home.
Right.
You're just saying, well, I want to get a good job. I want to put some rims on my car.
Yeah.
How do we begin to put ourselves in different environments so we can have that peer mentorship to where people are talking about things that can advance us?
Well, I mean, it's all about like Isaiah said. You got to expose yourself and be open. One reason why we fail to succeed is because we're afraid. That's it. Okay. Right. It's not that the doors are closed. We're just afraid to knock on the door. I know I came from a very small town in South Carolina and lived in projects in Columbus, Ohio. And had you told me I would have been here, all these years later, I wouldn't have believed you. But without being instilled early on that I can do it. Very simple, just like Desarte's, father and his mother instilled in him that he can do it. He can be great. It's all about that conversation they have with you early on, because that's the impetus to make you go knock on the door, ask for the internship, but just sit in a coffee shop and just study people that are doing something productive.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. We've all heard the thing, the only place success comes before work is the dictionary.
Right.
How much work does it really take to put in to be a successful entrepreneur?
Oh man, I'm gonna toss this to you, because I can go all day, but I'm gonna toss it to Desarte.
Well, first of all, fear is real, like you said, and people have to first get over that fear to achieve anything that they want to do, whether it's entrepreneurship or being a teacher, graduating from college. It takes you stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? My motto is whatever isn't impossible is inevitable. Right, so with that being said, to run a small business, because that's where it starts, we're trying to get businesses from seeds to trees. You have to be willing and able to do every facet of your business. Right. Whether it's marketing, whether it's outreaching, prospecting to your clients, or just networking and meeting people on a face-to-face basis. This entrepreneurship isn't a 9-to-5. It's not a 40-hour work week. It's
unglamorous at all.
It's unglamorous, as you would say.
Yeah.
It's every day, 24/7, and to put in that work, you can only expect, like I said, to see dividends in the future.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that because, my path to entrepreneurship wasn't as clean as I guess most that I know. I literally, I failed, like tremendously failed. Was depressed, was frustrated, and I really had to pick myself up on my bootstraps, and just rebuild myself. And I think for me as an entrepreneur, that's been the most beneficial experience of this whole thing. I mean, granted, the money's been good and the exposure is good, but more so learning about who I am. So understanding that it's going to be a war, because you're fighting the old self, like the 9-to-5 self. Like you're literally fighting, the whole every other week and, hanging out with your friends and, just frivolous stuff based on trying to start a business from the ground up from little or nothing. And I'm not celebrating starting with little or nothing, but that was my reality. And because I didn't have that business acumen, I had to figure it out, and I failed. So that's why I created BME, was to help other guys not have to go through what I went through, because it was unnecessary. If I would have had relationships, mentorships, and et cetera, it's not necessary to fail and have that story, sleeping on the couch. I mean, that's not cool. Nobody sleeping in the car, in the park, I was homeless. No, that's not celebrated. So I think we don't realize that we don't have to have that story. We can start, hey, I work with Bucknell Financial. They gave me a package, and et cetera. Now I have a platform to start my business. That's why I want BME to be successful.
How much studying does it require?
Oh, man.
Now we're being 100, right?
Right.
So we're up against an 8-ball as black entrepreneurs from the get-go, right? So in order to be even taken seriously in any profession that you're doing, you have to make sure that you're an expert at your craft. because your work is going to be that much more scrutinized than anybody else's.
Yeah.
So I would say I pride myself in not only being personable, charismatic, but being a subject matter expert, so that you can look at me across the board, any color of the rainbow, you can say, well, Desarte is good at what he does. So I think that you have to be an expert when it comes to being a black entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think it goes back on just something simple, which is being your toughest critic and being your biggest critic. If you're not, and you're not overly prepared, it's going to be very difficult. If you're not constantly putting yourself under the strongest lens, it's tough.
Right.
And I think that's appropriate to kind of prescribe to the situation of entrepreneurship.
So even within the network, how do you all critique each other?
I mean, we like, again, in BME, we very, very honest. We have real talks. It's been some times where, you know, I'm at my wit's end because I want these guys to do so well, and I want them to seize the moment, because we know these windows in life are only there for a certain period of time. Right. So we have very frank discussions. We have real talk where we're, you know, saying, hey, you got to get your website up, you got to do this, you got to do that. Because that's the only way we're going to really be, you know, successful, if we keep it real, if you will, and be very transparent with one another.
I oftentimes wonder, why don't we do more? Why aren't we able to succeed? And I think it's not having that network, like you said. And when I saw what you were all doing with the black banks, for example,
man, that's big, man.
I thought that
big.
was really powerful, because I'm saying to myself, nobody's coming from Georgetown, coming into Southeast or into Northeast, going to the black banks to open up bank accounts.
Right.
But to see you all take, and just the imagery, the propaganda of it.
Yeah.
And since then, we saw Usher, Jermaine Dupri, Killer Mike.
Listen, man, listen. And I salute them, man. And we want to be a catalyst. We don't want to take all the credit, but we want to be a catalyst for change. And that's what it's about. Just like you in the community, man. You do so much for people, man. I want to salute you right now. You do so much, and you're a catalyst. Like, people don't know you. They admire the image that you set and the reputation you set in the community. So, you know, you're a catalyst, and we're going to be the same catalyst just in business and economics for black men and just people.
Yeah, one thing you said, you mentioned networking, and within this ecosystem, I definitely feel like it's really a relationship. It's not even a network that we have. We have symbiotic relationships that we've built, and I can call on anybody within the BME Institute and ask them for a favor. They have all provided, you know, their resources to me, and it's a relationship beyond the network. So.
All right, we want to keep the conversation going, but we need to take a break. You're watching Sankofa Community Affairs with Salim Adolfo. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sankofa Community Affairs. We have BME Institute on Black Male Entrepreneurship Initiative. Can you tell us some of the projects that you have coming up?
Yeah, so this year is a big year for us, Salim. We're expanding into other markets. Right now we're in DC, looking at 2 other cities on the East Coast and the West Coast, and also West Africa, because we feel like we don't just want to be, you know, local, we want to be global, like you said earlier. So our goal is to create a pipeline opportunities here and also there. So we're really excited about that. Also, you know, we're recruiting for our first class in DC, a second class in DC, if you will. So that's a 16-week program. And go to our website, www.bmeinstitute.org. Again, bmeinstitute.org. And across every social media platform is BME Institute.
All right. What do you have coming up?
March 26th, I actually have a Black Male Leadership and Entrepreneurship Summit. And then in April, I have a 3-week pilot program that's being launched at Carl Sandburg Middle School. So we're going to be focusing on leadership, entrepreneurship, and those are going to be the core tenets that we're looking at, and how to create a network, how to cultivate an ecosystem, and kind of similar things that's going on at BME, and me sharing and my resources that I have. So
yeah, and I want to talk about Isaiah. I met Isaiah a couple of years ago, and it's my mentee. And I brought him in the program because I saw so much potential. But also, he was doing something similar at George Mason University, where I came out and spoke. And so he's trying to cultivate entrepreneurship at the collegiate level, which I think is so crucial. Because these guys should be learning, you know, the ups and downs of businesses in that vacuum. So when they get out of school, they already bumped their heads a couple of times, or they made their, you know, some thousands or whatever. So, you know, I commend Isaiah, and he's here because I want to make sure we create that have that young voice in the room,
Absolutely.
And that we represent the gentleman that, you know, we're looking to recruit in the future. Because our issues with programming is that we don't think about the next
continuity.
Right, continuity.
I want to get to you to start saying some of the things you have coming up, but I don't want to leave this space when we're talking about reaching down to some of the younger people. I think it's very important because oftentimes we find young black men at a crossroads.
Right.
I use myself as an example. My cousin and I grew up in the same household. Same value system was instilled in us. One day he went left, one day I went right. Now he's incarcerated and I'm sitting here with you.
Yeah.
How important is it for us to not just reach out to young people, I mean grab them up and be like, no, look, this is what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna pull them pants up, we're gonna show you how to tie a tie, we're gonna show you how to build your brand.
Yeah.
And what I mean by building a brand is you're not gonna be on Facebook taking pictures,
Yes,
smoking and drinking.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get tattoos all around your neck,
Your face and everything.
your face and everything. How
Yeah.
important is it for young black men to understand that, to take a line from Jay-Z, you're not a businessman, you're a businessman.
Yeah. Oh, so with being me, one of the reasons why Salim, and I think you don't know this, but marching with you and being involved in the community in DC around the protest, that inspired me to act out in a different way.
Right.
Because, and I tell this quick story, I came out and I think every march I was there and et cetera, but for me, I want to do something different that would create a level of sustainable change. So this is my protest, and this is my way to kind of address, those social justice issues we have in our communities, what our black men are not achieving. So, being me is not just about being downtown DC, and, in a high-rise building, but we're talking about going to the communities to, get the employability skills increased, but also increase the employment rate by us employing ourselves.
Right.
So, with being me, our challenge, but our privilege is that we can speak that language. We can code switch, and we know where they need to be. So our guys, they have a spirit of let's go out and get it done. And we're all about protesting in this capacity as well.
Correct.
We need different segue points to create sustainable solutions. Right.
One thing that I can say in regards to that, I have a few things to say about that actually. The first is, nobody understands the black male experience like the black man, right? So in order to change this, it takes the power of one. I remember my dad used to walk me along San Francisco beach and just throw crabs or back into the ocean. And he used to say, man, if I can save one, I've done a good job. So when I think about that analogy, I think about me reaching out to the young boy on the subway that's has his pants down. Right. Or maybe reading a book and I encourage him and say, keep reading those books, right? It just takes that one thing, that one sentence, that one head nod. So true. You know how we do it. That one head nod to say, hey, I acknowledge you. Keep doing what you're doing. Right. So it's the power of one, and I think that if we can continue to help others understand, young men, that we understand their experience, we can have some significant change in the coming years.
Absolutely.
How important is it to establish that social dynamic of, it's cool to try to start a legitimate business and not just like, okay, I'm cutting hair in my garage.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's all about celebrating, man. It's all about what you're doing with your show. It's about celebrating these type of stories, and every time we do something with BME, we all about post production or post marketing because we want to tell the story. Right. It's not just about doing the work and planting the seeds, but about saying, hey, this seed is growing. Look at this seed. This is important. That's why we're across every social media platform, because we know that we have to meet them where they are, and we have to create our own storyline about who we are and where we're going.
Now, we were talking about the different social justice issues that were going on.
Yeah.
And then, some folks, want to march. Some people want to use social media. Some folks go the academic route. But I believe that you see true change when you can exchange resources.
Absolutely, man.
And so we all know a lot of times crime is linked to unemployment. Yep. I have a theory. Tell me if you believe in this theory, is that our unemployment rate is so high because our entrepreneurship is low.
My man. See, man, that's why I come on this show, man.
So how can we address that social justice issue? And I'm gonna take a word from Minister Farrakhan in the Nation. We don't need to rely on somebody else to create jobs. They're saying if we spend $1.5 trillion, we're in no place to blame somebody else for us not having a business. Why can't we take that $1.5 trillion and set up businesses and hire our own people?
Right. I mean, part of that, that's a very complex response that I could give you, but a piece of it is that some of our guys can't get jobs, right? You get incarcerated, can't get a job. But they don't realize that, I can start my own business legally. I know a lot of successful CEOs who can't get a job if they apply based on their background. Right. So if we start using that conversation, and there's some programs now, I can't recall them right now, but they're using that approach when our brothers from the incarcerated are reinstated in the community, because they know they can't get a job. So hey, let me show you how to create a job for yourself. Right. I mean,
I feel like this all ties back to the youth, honestly, and the fact that they are so malleable. and the fact that they are very creative. If you start talking about entrepreneurship, it really catalyzes some thoughts that, okay, there's other viable options that I can explore early on. Even if I do, come across some trouble, some adversity, there's still options that you kind of cultivated and fostered early on. So.
Yeah, I think we got to create the social context and the social environment for it to be cool to do certain things. And that's why I can say I can appreciate having an institute where it's black men doing entrepreneurship. Like, where else is that taking place?
Yeah, man. And I tell the guys all the time, like no one else is saying, I want you to be a millionaire. Like, no, and that's a problem.
Right.
No one is sitting around black men and say, I want you to be a millionaire, I'm going to help you be a millionaire. That's a problem because you talk about generational wealth and all these issues that are plaguing our community, but it starts with, like he said, one person saying, I want you to be a millionaire, right? So, what we're trying to do and what we are doing is that, we're not just talking about the suits and the ties and things and meetings, but we want to celebrate the lifestyle around it because that's what's going to sell it. The kids don't want to be NBA players because they just see the ball. They see the cars, they see the lifestyle, they see the rings, they see the watch, everything. So, it's about us being proud to be successful and saying, hey, you can be successful. I don't have to dribble a ball or sell crack. I run a business. I run a financial group. Or et cetera, or I'm incubating, young entrepreneurs at a collegiate level. I mean, that's dope, and it'd be celebrated.
All right, so I'm gonna throw some comments out there that you may or may not have heard, but I hear oftentimes in our community, oh, you a sellout, right? You gotta wear a tie, or you speak like you white, or something like that. What do we say to people who have those attitudes about trying to present yourself in a marketable manner?
Yeah, you wanna take that one?
From my experience.
So you Cal Berkeley? Yeah, he has a very dynamic background, man.
Okay, so my experience is I grew up in a very rough part of San Francisco, and then my family had some time in New Orleans as well, right? So, I mean, polar opposites to an extent, but a hood is a hood no matter where the hood is, right? So my experience was actually one of support when I went back to my neighborhood. Okay. So I would be same guys we grew up with, incarcerated, in and out of jail, et cetera, et cetera. Those were the guys that cheered me on the most, because they knew what our neighborhood had to offer. And to see one get out was a success for all, right? So instead of focusing on what they're saying about you, you dress white, you talk like this, you do like that, I like to encourage the fact that we all, if you win, I win. If he wins, I win. You know what I mean? So if we can do that as a community, then everybody wins. We're gonna encourage success. We're gonna encourage the well-being of Howard, or it's going to continue to permeate throughout the community. So I guess I flipped the question. What I'm trying to say is that's how we should be thinking, right? So I think that the BME Institute does a great job of trying to permeate that thought process.
Well, I don't even want to say you flipped the question. I think oftentimes is our mentality is flipped.
There we go.
We think that trying to be successful or to present yourself in an articulate manner is not what we should be doing. Right. Like I think some of us are satisfied with mediocrity.
Yeah, and we also romanticize the hood experience. Man, I'm telling you, I grew up in the hood. Like people get shooting in my backyard. I'm seeing dope deals go down. Like that wasn't beautiful. That wasn't romantic.
Not glamorous.
I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. You know what I mean? So like Sate was saying is that we have to create a community of people that support you getting out. And our music doesn't do that. And we can do a whole nother segment about the things around us. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that whatever criticism we're receiving, at the end of the day, they're going to benefit from our successes.
You touched on something I want to get to before we run out of time, and that's the music business. What can BME Institute do for people who want to be in the music business? I'm stressing the business side of music.
Right. Well, I mean, what we always try to do with BME is that, as we receive our applicants, we look at who do we know in the industry that could benefit. Because our pipeline is that we recruit them, we train them, we put them in front of people that's going to buy what they're selling. Like that's the magic of BME. Right. So, I mean, anybody has a place in BME. Even music, entertainment, culinary arts. But our focus on the music business is that we want you to have a bona fide business, not just be an artist or a talent, but manage other artists and talent. If you are a talent, at least know the infrastructure. So when you stop rapping, you can start, cashing those checks in.
Yeah, I stress that because, I mean, some of us seen the movie Straight Outta Compton. Yep. And one of the elephant in the rooms to me in terms of the storyline was the fact that they were being robbed blind. You know, I mean, all their money was being taken just right from up under them because they didn't understand the business side. And I think oftentimes a lot of people capitalize off of our talent and we're the least benefactors of our skills and our labor and our hard work. But we're almost running out of time. I definitely want to thank you all for coming on the show. Can we get some closing comments?
Yeah, I'm just excited about what we're doing this year, and having a pillar like you in our community.
Thanks.
I mean, you're an institution, man. So we salute you. And just send your viewers to our website, bmeinstitute.org, for more information. And I'll have the guys to share their information. And now on the social media again at BME Institute.
Personally, I really thank you for the opportunity.
Yes,
just extending this type of program to young entrepreneurs as well as older entrepreneurs is vital. But for me, at Innovate, at @N_OVATE. So, and that's all across the board, social media.
Whatever isn't impossible is inevitable. And that's what we need to start to internalize. You can reach me at DasarteYarnway.com. That's DASARTE, last name Yarnway, YARNWAY. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. You're watching Sankofa Community Affairs with Salim Adolfo. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.